안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 어제 운동 오랜만에 했죠. 3주 만에. 그리고 오늘 진짜 영상 안 찍으려고 했는데 너무 피곤해가지고 지금 야간 근무 중에 야간 근무. 지금 퇴근하고 원래 잠을 잘 안 자는데 한 2시간 잤습니다. 씻고 청소하고 집안일 하다 보니까 2시간이 이렇게 흘렀네요. 네, 일단은 운동을 하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘은 6월 10일. 오늘 금요일이죠. 오늘 밤도 저는 출근인데 지금 주식이 엄청 떨어지고 있습니다, 여러분. 전쟁 때문에 물가 상승이 엄청 심하고 그 다음에 금리가 계속 오르고 있어요. 미국이 가을, 어쩌면 그 이후까지 계속 금리를 인상을 할 수도 있습니다. 그 말은 늦어도 가을까지는 주식이 계속 떨어진다는 얘기죠. 그리고 그 노래자랑의 MC 송혜 선생님이 별세를 하셨습니다. 그리고 전쟁은 아직도 진행 중이고요. 아유, 빨리 끝날 줄 알았던 전쟁이 빨리 안 끝나네요. 네, 그렇습니다. 일단 운동하도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, everyone. This is Don Lemon tonight. Definitely a moment in history happening just moments ago. The January 6th committee beginning to make its case to the American people with revelations we have never heard before. Tonight, what some of the more than 1,000 witnesses told the committee behind closed doors. There's new video from members of the then president's inner circle, even his daughter, Ivanka Trump.
This is the president's daughter commenting on Bill Barr's statement that the department found no fraud sufficient to overturn the election.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
But the committee is making it clear this is not just about what happened on January 6th or in the days leading up to it. It's about a clear and present danger to our democracy and what could happen in the next election. We've got a lot to talk about in the coming hours here on CNN. Here with me in studio, Seth Herndon, Andrew McCabe, and Scott Jennings. So glad that they could join. But first, we're going to get to CNN's Manu Raju and Ryan Nobles in Washington on Capitol Hill with the very latest on this. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Ryan, you first. Stunning first night here. Shocking new video, emotional live testimony, take testimony from people close to the former president and the January 6th committee, making the case that the former president, Donald Trump, was at the center. Tell us more about what we heard, sir.
Yeah, and Don, I think if there is a takeaway from tonight, it is that the committee did not shy away from placing the blame on what happened here on January 6th directly at the feet of the former President Donald Trump. And they did it by very calmly laying out a wide range of evidence from a number of different factions and factors, and from hearing from the people closest to him during this period of time. Just listen to how the committee members laid out the case as part of this hearing tonight.
You will hear that President Trump was yelling and, quote, really angry at advisors who told him he needed to be doing something more. And aware of the rioters' chance to hang Mike Pence, the president responded with this sentiment, quote, maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence, quote, deserves it.
And while the committee definitely didn't shy away from blaming President Trump for what happened here, they certainly did not play their entire hand. This was more than anything a tease of what's to come. This is just the beginning of a long set of hearings that are going to take place throughout the month of June. And the committee promised tonight we're going to hear a lot more about what they've uncovered over the past 11 months.
To Manu Raju now also on Capitol Hill. Manu, talk to me about what you're learning. I understand you're learning about the committee's knowledge about the House Republicans seeking pardons from the former President Trump.
Yeah, one of the things that Liz Cheney said in her remarks during this hearing was that there were some House Republicans who asked Donald Trump for pardons about their actions involving January 6th. Now, one person that she did point out was Congressman Scott Perry. He's a Pennsylvania conservative, a member, the leader of the House Freedom Caucus, that's the conservative faction within that conference, and she contended that he was one of those individuals seeking a pardon. Now, I caught up with the chairman of the committee, Benny Thompson, right after, trying to get some more information about that as well. He said that they have, quote, documentation proving that some of these members had asked for pardons. Now, he would not say how many members that there were that asked for pardons, but he did say that this will come out through the course of the hearings. Now, Jamie Raskin, who's another member of the committee, also would not divulge those details, but he said this, in his view, shows a clear consciousness of guilt that some of these members would go and ask for pardons, and just knowing that their actions could lead them in some legal jeopardy. But the good question too for this committee, Don, is what will they do with these Republican members of the House who have defied the subpoenas from this committee, including Congressman, the leader of the House Republican Conference, Kevin McCarthy, Perry himself, and others, and asking these members of the committee whether they will go as far as holding these members in contempt of Congress. They will simply just not say if that is what they plan to do. So it's uncertain if they'll get this testimony at all from these members who allegedly asked for pardons, but that was one of the key revelations here, showing just how many people were involved in what happened in the run-up to January 6th, and whether any of them thought that they could be in trouble for what they did.
Ryan, I found it interesting that the first closed-door testimony to the committee we saw tonight was from the former Attorney General Bill Barr. What did we hear?
Yeah, and Don, it's important to point out that interview with Bill Barr was only conducted 8 days ago, but the committee found what he had to say so important that they made it the first piece of sound that we heard from any of these closed-door testimonies that have taken place over the past 11 months. And what they were trying to show here was that Donald Trump was told by people that he trusted that he did not win the election. Listen to what Attorney General Bill Barr told the committee.
I had 3 discussions with the president that I can recall. One was on November 23rd, one was on December 1st, and one was on December 14th. And I've been through sort of the give and take of those discussions. And in that context, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit. And, I didn't want to be a part of it, and that's one of the reasons that went into me deciding to leave when I did. I observed, I think it was on December 1st, that, how can you can't live in a world where the incumbent administration stays in power based on its view, unsupported by specific evidence, that there was fraud in the election.
So what was remarkable about what Barr had to say was, first, that he was very clear with Donald Trump that he did not think that he won the election, and also that he thought that Donald Trump's actions were a danger to the Republic. And that is significant because that is part of the central thesis of the January 6th Select Committee. Don, it's important to point out, Ivanka Trump said that she changed her mind, or was at least influenced by what Bill Barr had to say. You already played that sound a little bit earlier today. We've only seen a very small fraction of the interviews that this committee has conducted, around 1,000 different interviews, and there are still a number of hearings left to go. So there is still a lot more that we're probably going to learn before the end of June.
Ryan, Manu, stick around. We still have a lot to go here live on CNN. Since we're on the subject of the former president right now, I want to get to CNN's Caitlin Collins to talk to her about that. Hello, Caitlin. I understand that you have some new information about how the former president just responded to the hearing. What is he saying?
Yeah, unsurprisingly, Don, he is lashing out at the committee, criticizing them for their first primetime hearing on what happened on January the 6th, and he's saying that they failed to use the many positive witnesses and statements that he claims back up his accusations, his allegations about election fraud, which of course you heard from the former Attorney General there himself, who says they were patently false. But I am told that in the coming days, one thing you can expect to see in the coming days is potentially those witnesses who were used tonight saying that their comments were taken out of context. Now, you saw the president who he's talking about saying that they were not positive witnesses. It's his own former pick for Attorney General, his own former campaign advisor, his son-in-law, and even his daughter, who were the ones that the committee chose to use their testimony tonight, though we know there are dozens of others of former Trump staffers that have testified to the committee, and they're coming out, and we're expecting them, or what we're told by sources that they're likely to say, is that they were taken out of context as a defense against the former president in case he is angry about what they said. And this is something that you often saw his cabinet secretaries try to use when they testified on Capitol Hill and maybe said something he did not like. They would claim the committee or the lawmakers had taken them out of context. But we should note that all of these witnesses who went in there, many of them knew they were being recorded. They knew their interviews were being transcribed. Some of them even knew they would potentially wind up being used in these televised hearings, which we knew were going to be happening this summer. And Benny Thompson, the chair, just committed to Jake Tapper that they will release the full transcript. So when you see these claims that they're being taken out of context or selectively edited, it is on camera, it is transcribed, and Benny Thompson said we will get to see the full context of what they said.
Collins, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm wondering, guys, before when I get to my panel a little later, is taken out of context the new "I'll plead the fifth" or the "I don't recall." We'll discuss that in just a moment. First, I want to bring in now a member of the committee, Congresswoman Elaine Luria, a Democrat from Virginia. Congresswoman, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us. The Vice Chair, Liz Cheney, said that Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. And the committee ended by showing how rioters went because of Trump, how they went down to the Capitol and what they did. Let's play it and then we'll talk about it.
So you mentioned that the president asked you. Do you remember a specific message?
Basically, yeah, he asked for us to come to D.C., that big things are going to happen.
What got me interested, he said, I have something very important to say on January 6th or something like that. Is what got me interested to be there.
You know, Trump has only asked me for two things. He asked me for my vote, and he asked me to come on January 6th.
What should Americans take away from this, from night one, Congresswoman?
Well, I think that the wrap up here it follows perfectly with what Liz Cheney said about how the president's words were taken literally. That these individuals were amongst thousands, as we can see, who heard the president say, "Come to Washington D.C. on January 6th. Be here. It'll be wild." Then they were here after the rally at the Ellipse, and they followed his orders to come to the Capitol. So I think that tonight we use this as an opportunity to lay out the things that we're going to be talking about over the course of these hearings. We outline what's to come in the next set of hearings, the multi-pronged conspiracy that led to the events of January 6th and the attempt to undermine the results of the election. And really, we want to highlight the dangers that still exist in the future for our democracy and for our institutions. And there's a lot yet to come in the hearings that'll be following.
Do you think the case was made tonight, or TBD, to be determined?
Well, this was essentially an opening statement. We did lead in, as you said, with comments from Trump's own former attorney general, who said that the president knew point blank that he had lost the election. He was told that multiple times. And we pointed out as well, there were others who were close to him, who were his advisors, who told him the same thing, but he continued perpetuating this lie. And turn on the TV today, he's still perpetuating the same lies about the election.
The committee showed a Trump tweet and footage of a rioter reading that tweet to other insurrectionists. Let's play it.
My kids didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth. Bring out proof. Bring out proof. Bring out proof.
A direct line between Trump's words and the actions of the insurrectionists, Congresswoman?
Well, those were the words, once this violence was underway, that the president chose, rather than being presidential, being the commander-in-chief, having the platform and the microphone to speak to the nation about stopping violence and actually being responsible for carrying out our laws. He chose to point his anger towards the former vice president. And as that tweet went out, the world saw it, and there you saw literally one of the rioters with a megaphone in his hand reading it out loud. And almost immediately after that, you hear these chants in the background of "Hang Mike Pence." So pretty clear correlation there that the words that came from the president led directly to what these rioters were doing in the violence that day.
Let's talk more about that, about more of what we are are told we're going to learn about Trump's reaction to the Hang Mike Pence chant. Trump was quoted as saying they had the right idea and that Mike Pence deserves it.
Yes, Liz Cheney mentioned that in her comments, and I think that's some of sort of many impressions that we'll get from those who surrounded the president on that day and his reactions to what was happening. So I think that is just an initial sort of entree into much more information about his reaction, his place and peace of mind at the time. And we all know 187 minutes went by before he actually stood up, got on camera, and ostensibly told these people to go home. But rather than saying, you know, go home, stop the violence, this is unacceptable, something along those lines that one would anticipate from the president, he told them, you're special, we love you.
I guess in this divided political climate that we're in now, and you can call it a hostile political climate that we're in now, perhaps it's par for the course, but I need to ask you about the GOP's response tonight, saying they're blasting, calling it Pelosi's sham primetime show, and they want payback if they take back control of the House.
I didn't see that live during the hearing because I was participating in the hearing, but I saw Kevin McCarthy's press conference earlier. The thing that I would say is, honestly, he's supposed to be the minority leader in the House. He's patently embarrassing himself. Days after the January 6th riot, he was saying and doing the right things. He was saying we need to hold these people accountable. We need to get to the bottom of this. We know everything that happened, that led to the, failure to establish an independent 9/11 type commission. And, now he doesn't want to get to the bottom of anything. He wants to cover it up, not talk about it, deflect, and essentially he's not being the adult in the room. I mean, if he were truly a leader within the House, he would want to get to the truth and the facts, which is where he started, but somewhere he went off the rails on that.
Representative Gloria, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll see you soon, because this is, as you said, these were the opening statements, so there's much more to go. The stakes couldn't be higher here. So did the committee succeed in laying out just how close we came to a disaster? We've got some folks here, more analysis on CNN, and no holds barred. I want to hear from you, Scott Jennings, what you think tonight, because he is never at a loss for words.
The White House staff knew that President Trump was willing to entertain and use conspiracy theories to achieve his ends. They knew the president needed to be cut off from all of those who had encouraged him. They knew that President Donald Trump was too dangerous to be left alone.
If I have the opportunity to leave the world in a little bit better place than when I got here, then I'm kind of participating in that. So I think it's important, we being the largest jewelry company out there in volume terms, we have a big role to play and show the way in the industry, and that's what we're doing. So it's not just the right thing to do, that's an important motivator personally, but it's also future-proofing our business, because I do think that at one point consumers will take note whether you're a socially responsible company. We can already see, of course, NGOs are pushing this agenda, but I can also see that the financial community is now starting to raise the bar and require companies that they invest in to have a proper attempt to do some work in the sustainability area.
Art is a universal language that inspires people to make a difference and to think about the situation. It doesn't only touch their mind, it touches their soul. My name is Audrey Decker, and I am the co-founder of Street Art for Mankind. Today, there are 152 million children, 1 child out of 10, who is suffering from child labor. Street Art for Mankind is a non-profit organization that believe in art for social change, and that's what we do with big murals made by artists from all around the world. We started Street Art for Mankind around the fight against child labor and trafficking, and we have a series of murals in the financial district of New York, which are called the Freedom Murals. We also have a billboard campaign that we did, and that's called the Free Children Campaign. And this one we did with the street artists, but also with people who are really involved in the cause, such as Ashley Judd, Mira Sorvino, Kailash Satyarthi, Siddharth Kara, and also Nick Kristof. Our dream for Street Art for Mankind is really to create outdoor museums everywhere around the world, to have this capacity to inspire people and create art.
As you saw just moments ago here on CNN in Primetime, the January 6th committee laying out their case in the first public hearing tonight with revelations that we have never heard before. I want to bring in now CNN political analyst Seth Herndon, senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe, and political commentator Scott Jennings. We want to say that Alyssa Fair, every woman on this Alyssa Fair's plane is late. She will be joining us later, so it wasn't supposed to be just guys. I'm glad you all are here, though, to talk about this seriously. Look, I want people, to say, why don't you say how you really feel? I want you to say how you really feel. The committee knows the stakes instead are high. Do you think that they succeeded in showing Americans, making their case to Americans, reminding them of the disaster that we came close to?
I think they accomplished their goals in terms of refocusing the political energy on this moment and on this day. I think that we have to be honest here that Democrats or the committee, this is a bipartisan committee, is doing multiple things here. They're trying to lay out a legal case. They're also trying to refocus public attention and political energy on this moment. It dovetails with the Democrats' midterm strategy to really paint Republicans as irresponsible stewards of democracy. That's what, and these things are about doing both of those things at the same time.
This is a midterm strategy?
I think
I've heard that from the right. I'm not sure. Maybe it is. I'm not sure.
I think two things are happening at once.
About saving the democracy.
No. I think there's definitely a legal case being played, right? And I'm going to leave that to the folks who know that the best. I'm saying there's also politics happening, and I don't think that I don't think there has to be any ignorance around that. This is part of a Democratic Party argument that Republican parties are irresponsible stewards of the American democracy, and I think part of this case is in making that clear to the American public. And they are doing that through a step-by-step evidentiary basis that we did see tonight be laid out in a more explicit form that I think